Hi there. It's been a while since I've done a stream. Actually, kind of lost the habit of it. Let's see if I don't know, get in the rhythm early enough. And this is a piece that I did. Was it yesterday or the day before that? Don't really remember. But anyway, I'm doing the full art version now. I'm quite a ways into it, but I have something else to do after this if I finish with still a lot of time in the stream. Hope I still have an audience. People didn't just assume that I stopped streaming forever, because I went on holiday and then I got sick, so a bunch of things came together and I went quite a while without streaming. I feel like most streamers I've seen going this long just never came back again, so maybe people assumed I just stopped. But yeah, I actually took a 7-day break, which is a lot more than I usually do. Both my jobs are basically, what do you call it? You know, when you're self-employed and you're working on commission. Anyway, you don't get holidays or anything like that. But you gotta take some time off every now and then, or else you're just going to collapse at some point. So yeah, I went to visit my girlfriend's family, which is something that I had meant to do for a while. They live in a different state. I had meant to do it for a while, but COVID got in the way for a long time, so we finally went and did it. And that was fun and all, and no, we really only stood, like, we didn't do anything in public, we were just like in family situations, but I'm still pretty sure I got COVID on the way back. On the way back, or maybe there, from one of them. But yeah, when I got home, both me and my girlfriend got basically a kind of cold that was more about your throat being messed up than anything else. And that kind of sounded like the symptoms for the Omicron variant of COVID, which was going around, so there's a chance we just got that. Either that or a cold. We didn't really get tested because, I don't know, like the testing stuff, you got to get in a huge line with people who feel like they might have COVID, and it's not necessarily the best idea. What's up, Wolf? Yeah, drawing that Metal Gear thing. Should be almost done now. Can probably finish that and start something else this stream. But yeah, it was nice to finally get out of the house. Since the pandemic started, I really hadn't done that. I've been working from home in both my jobs, like this one's always from home, but the other one as well now. And I've really only existed in my house and my girlfriend's house since the pandemic started, so actually getting to travel and do other stuff was nice. Even if you did immediately get sick. But I did like completely quarantine when that happened, so I'm sure I didn't spread it to anywhere else. Hey Blargan, what's up? It's been a while, yeah. I was talking about that. I just got back from vacation and then being sick, so I really didn't get to stream for a long time. But I'm alive. I'm definitely going to. No, I do intend to keep streaming just the same. Just my break wound up being a little bit longer than I meant it to. Just playing Gang Beasts before I go to see a friend. Great, you're streaming again. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I hope to continue in about the same rhythm as it was before. Just because, you know, I'm doing it anyway, might as well be streaming. I haven't played Gang Beasts in forever. I imagine the game probably changed since I used to play it with my friends. I wonder if it's as janky as it used to be. Where like you can punch each other and there isn't a lot of effect, but eventually one punch will just hit and the person will fly across the stage. I think it's the exact same, maybe. Yeah, probably is. I thought they might have like polished it a little bit, because it really sounded like sometimes, I don't know, things got stuck into each other and then pushed themselves out like at an absurd speed. And since the game calculates damage based on like the speed that stuff collide, you just end up kinda doing a super punch sometimes for really unpredictable reasons. Oh, it's the Snake Eater song. So yeah, but I think, you know, the jankiness might be part of the appeal. So people wouldn't enjoy it if they kind of fix the physics or anything like that. I wonder if maybe it's best to skip this song. Why can't? Okay, there you go. Hi Oleg. Hello, nice to see you again. Although I have to leave soon, I'll take my dog to the vet. Nice, thanks for dropping by. Yeah, I'll be getting back to the streaming normally now. I keep getting targeted because I won the first match. I mean, I guess that's kind of how those things go. You gotta, if I remember well, you win when you get a certain score. So you gotta go after the people who are number one. It's just rules of the game. But it's a fun game. I wonder if people actually get good in it. You probably can. I remember when we were playing, we'd sometimes kind of do an accidental, I don't know what the series of commands was, but we kind of spun around like kind of like Zangief's move, you know, where he has his hands out and he's kind of spinning like this. Where you just kind of do that, and it was really fast for some reason, and like it would launch people out of the stage. And it felt like there probably was a way to do that consistently if you like really learned it. Would be interesting if there was like competitive. Forgot the name of the game now. What is it? Gang Beasts, yeah. There was like competitive Gang Beasts in Evo or something. See people get really good and consistent at it. When you posted this Metal Gear sketch on Twitter, I was drawing Snake lol. Yeah, a weird coincidence. It's not even like topical. It's not like there's any Metal Gear stuff happening to my knowledge. I was talking with Wolf, like I really played a bunch of Metal Gear 1 and Twin Snakes, and I also played 2 all the way to the end, but I never actually finished 3 or 5. Like I started most of them and didn't finish them. So I kind of want to play 3 again. Five, like, I don't know, I just didn't like it as much. The mechanics are alright, but I didn't really like the progression. I don't know, it just doesn't feel like you're... like anything is happening. The missions feel kind of generic and you're like slowly growing your base. So it's a really different, it's probably a way longer game than the previous ones. But I don't find that kind of progression as satisfying as just always being in like unique areas. They're really tightly designed. Like old school Metal Gear is just, you know, one room after another, getting like the little stealth puzzles that gets a little bit harder with time, and there's a story that moves pretty fast. Like the cutscenes are obnoxiously long, but you're always, you know, progressing on a plot. And I kinda miss that. I didn't really like the way 5 worked. 3 super cool, never touched 4 or 5. Yeah, I do wanna play 4 as well because I like Dave and Marrow and Otacon. So I kinda look forward to 4 more than 3, because I also, you know, I don't know, I started 3, but 4 is like mysterious because I never touched it. But I wanna play 3 first. MGS 3 is my favorite. Yeah, it's a lot of people's favorite. I guess at the time I tried, I just didn't have the patience. Like I wasn't in the mood at that time for the huge cutscenes. So it just kind of turned me off to the game, and I wound up kind of dropping it in favor of other stuff. So I gotta start over. But there seemed to be a lot of cool stuff in it. I wanna play it on the classic camera mode though. I didn't like the subsistence camera mode as much. I do just kinda like old Metal Gear. I feel like Metal Gear 2 is like my ideal Metal Gear gameplay. Yeah, I love the gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 5, but the story is lacking. It's much lower, and it's much slower. Yeah, I felt that. I didn't, you know, get far enough to like not like the story. It seemed fine to the extent that I got, but yeah, it was moving really slow. 3 has a lot of great stuff going for it, but it's so linear. Yeah. There's probably text-to-speech being weird. And so linear. Linear, yeah, it's linear. So linear and short that like you don't really get to use any of that stuff. I feel like I probably get what you mean by that, because it introduced like a bunch of survival and camo stuff, but the gameplay is still kind of the old school Metal Gear. That the stuff didn't feel very necessary as far as I got. Like the eating, I don't know, it kind of felt like they're eating animal stuff and getting used to eating them. And the camo and stuff might work better on an open world kind of stuff, like kind of game like 5. But I don't know, the characters seem cool. So I do wanna play it. I feel like I'm making the lines too thick now. Gotta be more consistent with them. I think that's why so many people wanted a remake of 3, because I realized that the 3 mechanics with like 5 engine was like the perfect match. Yeah, could be cool. They realize, sorry, okay. Yeah, I'd expect a remake of 3 eventually, also because it's the one people like a lot. So it would be like either that or 1, and 1 already had a remake, even if it was like 2 years after it came out originally. I guess 3 years. 3 or 4, I don't know, but it was really recent. I think it was really close together, the first one in Twin Snakes. I do like Twin Snakes, by the way. Like the cutscenes are stupid with the Matrix stuff, whereas Snake is like kind of normal in game, and what he can do is kind of realistic. But in the cutscenes, he's doing absurd like somersaults and jumping on missiles and doing completely ridiculous anime stuff. And at the same time, in the cutscenes, one bullet kills a person, but in game, you get rid of the bullets and you're just fine. It's really silly, but Metal Gear is silly, you know. It was always partially a comedy. I feel like a lot of probably mostly Western fans at least they remade it with pachinko. Yeah. I feel like a lot of Western fans kind of try to ignore the absurdist comedy elements of Metal Gear, and that kind of helps 3 be the favorite because 3 seems a little bit more grounded, and makes 2 be kind of underrated because 2 is the most silly, absurd, surrealist Metal Gear. But I really love 2. I really love that plot. Most Metal Gear Solid games have really good balance between comedy and seriousness, in my opinion. Yeah, I think so. Just I think a lot of people are kind of used to a more Hollywood kind of archetype of how tone works. Like in American movies, tone tends to be very consistent, to the point where a lot of people can like learn cinema and stuff. Like you see Americans talking about that kind of stuff. They seem to see it as a flaw whenever a movie or something like varies in tone a lot, like that detracts from it, and everything's supposed to like build to the same kind of emotional tone, which I disagree with. I think you can definitely have a really wide spectrum and go from seriousness to comedy, and from dramatic stuff, and also be absurd or surreal. I think that works just fine. There's a million ways to make that work. I love the part of Metal Gear Solid 2 when you're naked because it's so ridiculous. I mean, yeah, like basically the whole plot of the game is absurd, but it gets more and more ridiculous towards the end with, you know, the I need scissors 51 and all that stuff. And then you're fighting the president of the United States, who is also the secret third clone of Snake and has giant mechanic tentacles on his back with a katana on the top of like a toppled building, because the ship you were in just rammed into, I think, Washington. I don't even know. It's been a long time since I played it, but yeah, the game has a great ending. Because there's like literally ghosts in the basement of the White House. They are like the secret Illuminati ruling the world or something. Like they're computer ghosts. I also really like Snake as a supporting character. Like really overly cool kind of, you know, it's kind of really aspirational characters. I tend to feel work a little bit better when they're side characters, because then they get to be cool all the time. You know, when you're the player, you're not always going to live up to the character, and you know the plot wouldn't really work if they're that badass. So they tend to kind of work best if they're around, but they're not you. I didn't really like edgy Raiden though. I've always put off playing Metal Gear Rising. Generally, I just kind of don't like the graphics. I really don't like the visual style of the game. And I also kind of don't like Raiden's design and that. It kind of feels less like a progression of his character and more like they were trying to make him appealing to people who didn't like him previously. Right, because like he's this normal dude gamer basically because he only trained in virtual reality and now is being put in a real mission. Music just got really loud all of a sudden. That's how I always felt. Cyborg Raiden is a character assassination. Yeah, I didn't really play the game, so I can't really opine. But yeah, it really felt like, okay, we want to make it about him because like the gameplay uses a sword and stuff. But people didn't like him. Like, let's make him cool then. But like not being very cool was kind of central to him because he's basically like this kid that they turned into a soldier, but just having him play a bunch of VR stuff until he's desensitized to killing people. But he's still, you know, not the badass, grizzled kind of guy that Snake was. You see it in 4. Oh yeah, he was in 4, right? Before. I didn't know that because like I didn't remember that. I think I knew at the time from trailers and stuff. But since I never played 4, I forgot about it. But yeah. Maybe they could like make it work as like a progression of this character if it was like played in the way of like they made more changes to him and dehumanized him, then there could be like a progression of the guy who was trained in VR or whatever, like he's being more like he was even more mechanized, and then you see him change for like from like a relatable normal person into to be like badass robot dudes, but that also is kind of sad because he's not a person anymore. But I don't know if that's at all what they were going for. I also remember Snake killing himself in the trailer to Metal Gear Solid 4. Oh, now the music's really low. The volume's really inconsistent in this one. I'm having to change it back and forth, so tell me if the music's either too loud or too low. Yeah, I remember Snake shooting himself in the mouth in the trailer. I don't know if that was clickbait or what, because I'm pretty sure that he doesn't just kill himself. So yeah, don't know what that was about. what to do next. I'm going to have to look up a reference for Snake's pistol. Yep, I feel like this is a bit loud again. Dang it. It's really hot in here because it's summer. I am not a summer person at all. Like, okay, our summers are a lot more intense than our winters, but I much prefer winter. If you're cold, you can just put on more clothes. If you're hot, you quickly get to the limit of that. Yeah, I feel like this works. I wonder if they'll really do more Metal Gear stuff if Kojima is just not going to be a part of it. They'll probably just wait a bit. I think right now there's this perception that Metal Gear games without him are both not going to be good and something of a betrayal. I wonder if I have I'll try this thing, it's a little bit more uniform in volume. Okay. But if that's the case, I'm sure they'll get over it soon enough when they feel like they can get away with it. Yeah. Won't get back to it because a name, a brand is worth a lot. You can just wait for Hideo Kojima to like make stuff that people don't like as much. Kind of like with Mega Man, where they didn't do any for a while when the creator left, and then he made Mighty Number 9, and it was apparently terrible, and then people were happy to play a Mega Man that wasn't by him from Capcom. I never got to see that much what Death Stranding was like. I remember hearing some negative stuff when it came out, but I don't really know what it's all about, and if there is like a large contingent of people who liked it. Read the magazine now. I'm going to look up a Pistol magazine to be sure that I know what I'm doing here. Right, I'm heading out. Have a great rest of your stream. Thanks for dropping by. See you around. Bye. Oh yeah, Pistol magazine. Pistol magazine. Never got why it's the same word as like the publication, a magazine. Was actually kind of confused for me as a kid with Metal Gear because I love that Stranding, but it's not for everyone. I got that impression. It's kind of confusing because in Metal Gear you actually get an item when you empty a magazine of your pistol. You get an item which is like the magazine that you can kind of throw to distract enemies. And there's another item that is a literal magazine, like the kind you'd buy in a stand. And they call that book because the other one's called magazine, which is really weird. So that was where I learned that the pistol thing was called a magazine. But it also always seemed very weird that they called that book. I've never seen a magazine be called a book elsewhere. It might really be just because the name magazine was used up. I just could play a little. It has a lot of details. I love the environment. However, I couldn't see much about the story, so I don't know much about it. It's a very unique game. You have to like the idea of being a slow mailman in a post-apocalyptic Kojima world. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like anything can be interesting depending on how you pull it off. Not sure how he went about it. But I'm kind of more interested in a game that is like, oh, this game's really slow and it's like sad and slow paced and about just walking this desolate thing. I'm much more interested in that coming from a long time game developer than from like an indie art game, because like there's a million indie art games that are basically that, and they just come from this really shallow idea of what a deep work of art is. Like it has to be melancholy, it has to be slow, it has to be, sober and realistic. Like why are those inherently better than their opposites? I'm not sure, but it's just what art things look like. And people who don't really know like the language of game design and how you engage your player just try to make stuff forcefully deep and like it's never really effective. I never played one of those. Like I'm open to the idea of that working out well, but I never played one of those and felt like they pulled it off, because when you're playing a game, you just don't automatically project yourself onto your character and take that experience. And that experience doesn't feel real to you automatically either. Like you have to use a bunch of different devices that pull you in. And it feels like these art games like never even bothered to try to learn the language and those techniques. And they just assume that if you put kind of an emotionally charged experience in front of you, you will kind of engage with it as though it was really happening, So there was an old in the game that was like your whole life, and you just walked through a little maze, and your guy kind of got old and died. And there's that old lady game where you walk in a graveyard and you sit down and listen to a song and die. It's like I'm not moved by those things if nothing pulled me into that character. Like I don't relate to that character because I did nothing as them. I had no stakes as them. I felt like I was just pushing them through because the gameplay was just kind of really basic, and you're just kind of thinking about progressing. You're not being automatically sucked into it when there was no game leading up to the emotional part. Kind of quiet, but I'm trying to figure out what a pistol magazine looks like. I feel like this will get the idea across. I don't want to use too many lines, you know, because it's tiny and it's just not the art style. So I have to simplify it. I also feel like I'm making it over long. Like there are extended magazines, I know that's a thing. But I want to make it fit the pistol. But I think it's cool that Kojima, you know, he made his money. He probably could retire just on Metal Gear Solid, even with the relatively small bonuses that game devs kind of tend to get for making hugely profitable franchises. I'm sure he's really rich. So at this point, why not, you know, why continue hoarding money? Just make, like, use your prestige and the fact that just having your name attached to it makes the game worth, like, financing, and make games you actually want to make and that you actually find interesting to design and innovative. Even if it doesn't work out, it's probably going to be more interesting than just making another Metal Gear Solid. At some point, you've added all you can add to that particular template. And now I'm going to look up a reference to Snake Socom pistol. Here it is. Metal Gear 6 NFT trauma. Was there an NFT thing related to Metal Gear? I am out of the loop. Nah, okay, good. There was a, what was it? I know Square Enix was going to do NFT stuff for Final Fantasy XIV and immediately gave up when, like, fans told them to go fuck themselves, basically. They just, I think it was like the next day or something, they went back on it. So that's good. There's going to be a new Castlevania thing with NFTs, oh god. How do you even put NFTs in Castlevania? What's the point? I mean, really, what's the point of NFTs in any game? I really don't get that. Like, I'm sorry, a game, an online game, defeats any point. Like, I'm not in favor of NFTs to begin with because of the environmental impact, and because like the whole point of them is like recreating scarcity in the digital realm where it doesn't naturally exist, and scarcity is a bad thing actually. So I found the entire thing completely unappealing to begin with. But when you have an online game that only exists because it's being hosted by Square Enix in the servers of Square Enix, that is authenticating, like that has server-side authentication to every action that happens in the game to make sure you're not cheating. What is the point of an NFT? Why do you have to decentralize the authentication of ownership of the item? All the uses of the item are going to be authenticated in a centralized system anyway. The item is nothing the moment the servers are down, and Square Enix isn't hosting it in a centralized fashion anymore. So why is it good that you have a decentralized certificate for it? It's pointless. The moment the game is down, it's pointless. Are you really thinking ahead from when the game is down that you're going to want to like trade that for any amount of money? Like, it's not like a playing card for a game that's like not used anymore. It's still a physical thing that collectors can have. This is like the theoretical idea that you should have an item in a game that isn't there. That's nothing. I don't remember the details well, but it has something to do with a collector's edition, and it has something to do with music album. Okay. I mean, you can have a non-fungible copy of like a music album. You just print it out, like make it a limited edition CD. That's already a thing. Those do also get valued highly over time because they were limited, and yeah, like that already exists. You can make it a real thing and not in a computer. I don't get it. Yeah, NFT games are a solution to a problem that does not exist in the slightest. Yeah, that's certainly the impression I get. I really don't get how it would help anything at all. The TF2 and CSGO economies are basically the same thing except not problematic. Yeah, I mean, those do have limited items that get up in value because they're limited, but they just work in a centralized system. Like, why wouldn't you? They're pointless without Steam, like without the hosting. They were going to be valueless anyway. Why waste the computing power? I really feel like a lot of NFTs thing. You know, I try to be like, okay, let me try to understand this. Let's not like assume that everybody but me is stupid. But I do think, not everybody but me, because most people think NFTs are dumb. But you know, let's not assume that this whole group of people is stupid. But I really do think it's just a hype train right now. And that hype is enough for people to push NFTs in mediums where they know they're not like useful or necessary, and for people to join thinking like, yeah, I know that NFTs in this make no sense, but NFTs are booming right now, right? So I'll try to buy it and sell it before there is a consensus that they are dumb, and maybe I can make a profit off of it. I have to assume that's like most of it. Hopefully we won't get Monkey Belmont. No. Oh god. Did you guys hear about the what's the game's name? Like the browser game with the pets, Neopets. Neopets like tried to make an NFT, and it's like a really crazy story. Like they partnered with a really shady company to make the NFTs, and the NFTs were like basically just randomly generated characters from their character creator. Like you bought a random ugly animal. And yeah, nobody liked it, and it crashed and burned immediately. But there's some really crazy stuff, like there's some weird insider trading and shady companies behind it going on. There was a video by Yeezys, I think is the YouTuber that I saw. I think it's spelled like this. That was the one I saw about it. It was a really crazy story. Like it was a mess even for an NFT launch. And there are a bunch of great stories about that kind of stuff. There's the dude who made like some monkeys again. There was like a rip-off of the Bored Apes thing, but it was like, oh, there's totally going to be a fighting game where you fight as these monkeys. And then a bunch of people bought them, and he immediately just said, yeah, okay, buy things for your money, and just left. Like there was never a game, there was never going to be a game. He just took all the money and went away. Because you basically can, like people are purposefully and enthusiastically entering in marketplaces where there is no way to cancel or undo a transaction or even track like where the money went and block it from, like block the other guy from just cashing it out elsewhere. So yeah, you're gonna get scammed. Yeah, like, you know, if somebody has like a pedigree behind them and like a reputation to uphold, then that can be okay. But people just jump in projects done by anonymous people. A bunch of the projects, just a bunch of anonymous people. It's like, hey, I am not going to tell you who I am, or if I have any kind of experience in anything, but give me your money in a way that is absolutely impossible to return, and I'll totally do this thing for you. And they promise like completely outlandish stuff. And people keep falling for it, like it's really weird. One of my brothers is into crypto, and he invited me to maybe be a part of a Nifty game project that he was helping with. I was like, nah. Yeah, I mean, if there was like, I understand that there are now some slightly less energy consuming ways to authenticate stuff. There's some stuff that's like proof of stake and not proof of work, so it doesn't use as much computing power to mint. So if there was that, like, I'm not going to be like against it in principle, whatever. But right now, one, like, I don't see the justification at all to be using that amount of energy. And because like it generates no real value, it's not making the economy, it's just for speculation, it's not making the economy more efficient. You know? At least cryptocurrency could have the prospect of making the economy more efficient, and if the economy is more efficient, everybody's kinda slightly wealthier. So you could imagine it eventually being like positive in some way, but in crypto I really don't get it. It really looks like it's just for speculation. And like speculation moves money, speculation mostly launders money. So that's a use for it, but if you're not like wealthy or in like doing illegal things, like the art trade is not really helping anybody. And they say, oh, it's like high art trades, you know, like paintings by famous painters, but yeah, like high art trade is a bad thing. Like it doesn't do any good to anybody. It really just serves to launder money and to like the other consequences, having historical works of art be less accessible. It is a bad thing 100% in my opinion. I really don't see any upside. Uh, the most obnoxious thing about NFTs is the people who just want to push the market by showing that they really believe in those and it's the future of humanity, while really they just say that to fill their own pockets. Yeah, it's kind of hard to have like a normal conversation about this stuff because anybody who is invested in it just has this direct financial incentive in saying that's the best thing that ever happened because they have to maintain the hype. Um, so yeah, in that way, it kind of works like an MLM. Like even if you're getting fucked in there, like even the dude who's losing money, he's probably saying that it's amazing and that he made a bunch of money because he wants to lose less money, and for that he needs to bring in more people. Um, but yeah, it's really crazy. And it's so not futuristic. That's like the biggest thing that puts me off. Oh, hey, first time chat. Yeah, NFTs are just the newest pyramid scheme in a long line of tech quackeries. Sorry, quackeries. Yeah, I feel like I mean, a lot of them just kind of are, and not even they don't even qualify as pyramid schemes. They're like exit scams or Ponzi schemes, I guess is the term, where like it's just a pump and dump. They just get in. It work like the price floats as long as people are getting in, then the bottom just drops out, and the people who got in early already got out. Um, but yeah, I really don't see any value, and I'm kind of against it in that principle, right? That it claims to be like, oh, this is the future of like the digital world. There's like authentication and stuff, but it's really only trying to make the digital world more like the physical world. It's not making digital operations like less limited. It is inventing and going to great lengths to enforce limitations that didn't exist. Like things can just be copied infinitely and everybody can have access to them, and you're like, no, let's make it so there's still a real one that is the only one that has value, and so you get to hold on to it and hoard it and be rich. And it's like that's not really benefiting the world, and that's just only walking back a really cool thing about digital things, that they're infinitely shareable. But yeah, like rich people never really like the owners of intellectual property never really liked how the internet makes things infinitely copyable, right? Like music is so much cheaper, for example. Nowadays, movies and music is so much easier and so much cheaper to access them. Like you don't have to get blasted with a million commercials to watch them. Either like get blasted with a million commercials or like buy movies individually to own them forever. If you want to watch them, you get like these services that for a relatively much smaller price you get to watch tons and tons of things, and like music as well. Like that didn't change because the owners of the copyrights wanted it to change. It changed because of piracy. Piracy is the reason we have Netflix and like audio things that you can like listen to every song ever for free with a few ads, or just like pay a much smaller price to have them all without ads. Like that exists because they couldn't really control copying in the digital age, and I don't want to give that power back to them. like I buy things legitimately whenever they exist in like a reasonable price where I live, because I want to support things that I like, but I don't want to have publishers be able to charge as much as they did. I'm glad piracy exists and it's pushing their prices down. Also for art preservation, it's much better. Because like you see with game publishers nowadays, they're just making, Nintendo for example is only making their older games less accessible and more expensive over time because they realize they can actually charge for them. And a lot of other companies don't even bother making games that they own available in any way, older games, because they're, they would just be competing with the newer ones. So if it's up to the rights holder, most of gaming history would be lost media. Like that stuff just exists because of emulators. Most games, I'm willing to, pretty confident in saying most games that have ever been made are only playable through emulator. Like the community that creates those emulators and saves those ROMs and makes them available are, in my opinion, like heroes of the medium of gaming and of game design. Like we absolutely need them. It's so much knowledge, so much history, so much, game design that people get to learn from and make newer things would just be gone forever because there's no profit to be made in making everything available. Game No has a good quote about this. The easiest way to stop piracy is not by putting anti-piracy technology to work, it's by giving those people a service that's better than what they receive from the pirates. Yep. Which is exactly what you said. I mean, yeah, pretty much. I don't even feel like you have to be better than the pirates. You just have to not be that much worse. Because like I bought a bunch of games on Steam. I needed to buy 0 of them. It's actually just as easy to pirate them. But I try to buy them because, like, even if I'm not like super hype about the publishers, I still want that game design to be like economically viable, and I don't really give myself the right to take it. Unless they're like charging a completely absurd amount of money in Brazil, which some companies do. But seems actually pretty good about their prices in Brazil, and I want to incentivize that. And I can't afford it. Buying a game every now and then. So like I couldn't afford to buy like Switch games, but Steam games, yeah, I'll buy those. But yeah, people want to not pirate things. That's been shown. People want to pay for stuff if it's at all a reasonable price. And the people who pirate it are largely people who just couldn't afford it anyway. And you're not really losing in that case. Like a lot of younger people who don't have their own money pirate games. And they just weren't going to buy them if they didn't pirate them. They might, maybe in a couple of years, they'll buy the next one. So it might even be a net positive. Yeah, I feel like there can be a balance, like, and neither like pirate all things nor pirating is bad. You're stealing. Right now we really need it to be a thing that exists. Especially emulators. Emulators are great. Like, and so many people do so much work for free making emulators. That's a cool thing, like people, like the piracy world is kind of altruistic. Because like 100% of the people who uploaded the ROM of a game had the game. 100% of people who created an emulator had the original hardware. Like, you need those things to make it. They're making it to share it, and they cannot profit from it. Like from that real work that goes into that. So I think that's cool. Yeah, there are some really, I don't know, there's some cool ones out there. Like, I was thinking about playing like Metal Gear 1 and 2, because I never played those. The MSX emulator that I have, the MSX is an old computer system. That's what the original couple of Metal Gears came out to, the MSX2. The emulator I have for the MSX still has like a whole, like he has a box and he has like the screen of the MSX, and he has all like the switches and stuff for like settings and things like that the MSX had in its hardware. Like they reproduced it and like the things that give you info and stuff. That would be like part of the hardware, not part of the actual loading side of the screen. They're in the window of the emulator. They were like reproduced with the texture of the MSX. It's really cute, and a lot of extra work went into that to like give you more the experience of playing the game as it was back when it came out. I left all the hands for last. Past me was being lazy. You gotta not be too careful with like the gun and stuff. As long as it doesn't look like crooked, it's fine. People don't pay that much attention to the... People pay attention to faces and stuff like that. You can't get too bogged down. Well, yeah. But the whole NFT situation right now that has been going on for a long time, it's so weird. There's like almost exclusively negative opinions on NFT. Like the crypto bros who are really into it are loud about it, but they're clearly a small minority. Most people either actively hate it or just mock it. And yet corporations are always doing it, like more and more. It sounds like so many already bumped into this wall and immediately regretted it. It's the Darman video. Corporation makes an NFT and immediately regrets it over and over and over again. Like, why is this still happening? Do people not predict that everybody hates this thing? Faces and or boobs. Yes, boobs are also important. It's also where the eyes go. Nah. I wonder if I could get a bunch more hits if I just started drawing characters with huge boobs. It really seems like it's playing like the art thing on easy mode. There's some art that's just not very good and that does really well with big boob. My stream use has been lagging again because I don't have the quality options. Ah, that sucks. They keep giving me and taking away the quality option. Like I'm not messing with anything. They sometimes like they activate it and deactivate it like all willy-nilly. I don't know what that's all about. Do you think you could stream in 30 FPS in the future when you're not playing games? Huh. Maybe that would help. That's a good idea. I'll make a note of that. That I should have control over. Let's make a notepad thing called 30 FPS. Stream. Okay. There. After the stream, I'll try that. I don't know why it's more. I don't know. I feel like at least FPS should be something that you should be able to always choose as a viewer. Because I guess they're like rendering the stream again in smaller qualities in order to make it available. Like they can't have it downgrading quality on the user's end because that would take a lot of processing power. But they should be able to just send you every other frame, no? Maybe the compression across frames doesn't allow that to be something you do automatically. I don't know, computers. I just drove the pen. Kind of do live in the future, right? Like, because up to a certain point in like technical advancements of humanity, like we were inventing stuff, but people still like got how things worked, right? Like maybe you didn't invent like the cannon or whatever, or gunpowder and all that stuff. Like, of course, it took thousands of years for us to get there, but pretty much anybody who lived alongside cannons was like, yeah, I get it. You mix a bunch of stuff, and then it explodes when there's heat, and the explosion pushes the big heavy ball. I can tell you what's going on here. But nowadays, like if a person from the past came here, they'd be like, oh, is this magic? Be the wizards? And we're like, no, this is just technology, it's normal, we just invented stuff like you guys invented, we invented more stuff. Like, oh, how does it work then? And we're like, I have no fucking idea how it works. It might as well be magic, but people told me it isn't, because I don't have a clue. I guess it either would take extra resources on Switch, or they're just too lazy. Yeah, it probably take extra resources, because like the compression, like across frames, they have to tell you. Each frame has to say like what's changed. So if you skipped something that changed in one frame and went stack to and just downloaded the next frame, you could skip a change and then it would linger, kind of like how when there is video corruption, you know. And it switches from like a white background to a blue background, but it like stays white and only the parts that move the blue starts showing up. I think that would happen if you just skipped frames willy-nilly. You have to like recompress it all over again, and again that would take computing power either from Twitch or have to do it in your computer, which would not work. It's like you have to download it in the heavy version before anyway, and then compress it. Can I ask you something about your commission request? It's okay if you don't want to answer, it's totally understood. No, sure, go for it. Most of the info is in my ArtStation, which should be linked pretty much in any of my pages, but if it's something like beyond that, feel free to ask. Do you usually get very specific details about some woman parts? Not really. I feel like I have gotten surprisingly few inquiries about anything not safe for work or like sexual in any way. I feel like people kind of get my vibe, and even if they wanted to ask, maybe they would be like embarrassed to, because it's just not usually what I go for. I actually have nothing against it. I feel like it would probably just confuse my brand if I started doing risque things, and I'd have to do it in a parallel account. It's really just kind of not worth it at the moment. I also don't find it particularly interesting, but like it's fine. But no, people don't tend to ask me about those things. I actually got a couple requests like early on, even before I did commissions. A couple of people asked me on like Tumblr. They had if I had like I'll not say for work account or anything like that, which I don't. But no, I don't really get those. Like the horniest thing I ever got was like a character from a guy who's like making, like in an indie team that's kind of making a fighting game. I think it's more like in their free time. I don't think they're like an established studio at this point, but they had this fighting game project. And one of the characters they had me make was like this cat girl wrestler. And like the original design was really like they had a previous design for her, and it was pretty horny. Like kind of absurd proportions. And you know, she was basically just wearing a bikini and boots. I tried to make her a little bit more interesting. And I managed to keep her at least like physically possible in the final art. Because I've been getting some in Discord servers, and they get very specific. And it's totally okay with me. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's fine. That's certainly a market. And you know, you have to have like a hook for people to be interested in like drawings. You know, it's like my thing, my most successful thing is tabletop RPG characters, because everybody has those characters and they want them visualized, so that's a hook. Another one is like, you know, I came up with this character, I can kind of draw her, maybe kind of, but I want her to be hot, and I can't do that. Please make her hot for me. You know, that's a common thing that people want, so it ends up being a huge market. So yeah, it just kind of makes sense that people would request those a lot. But no, people kind of get a vibe from me, I guess, where they don't feel like I'm going to do that. But I wonder if I should standardize like a limit on how far I should get, or just follow their exact requests. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, but people who do not save for work, or like who just do kind of sexy things but not like explicit, like it's common for commission pricing sheets to state like stuff that I want to do. Like I want to draw full nudity and gore would be like a common thing. That's pretty normal. I like the song. It kind of played, at least in Twin Snakes, it played when you were like being pursued by guards. So it played this really kind of cool, triumphant, emotional song when you had fucked up, basically. So it wasn't the best, but it also was the song for the kind of video, not really the intro, I think, it was just the video that played if you didn't press start on MGS 2. And I really liked it. I would just let it play, largely because I enjoyed the song. I've been questioning this to myself because I want to officially open commissions on social media. Oh, that's cool. I mean, in broad terms, you should probably say something. Especially because, you know, even if you say like what you're not going to do, that implies what you are going to do. And that's a huge market, right? So if you're willing to do it, it helps to have something to be like, I won't draw. I need to look better into like Twitch terms of service. At some point I'm going to mess up here. I talk too much and I don't watch much my language sometimes. But yeah, say the things that you're not going to do. And people will be like, oh, okay, so let's draw my OC. I really don't want to draw this hand, I'm procrastinating. I should do a better sketch, like a more detailed sketch. I even like moved the whole gun. Okay, let's not overthink it because people are not going to be focused on it. But how should it basically look? No. This has to be more straight, just more to this side. Really here. This is too tiny then. Fingers just don't fit, I guess. Oh no. Oh no. Even they don't feel, I don't really care that much. You should, how do you hold a pistol? How do pistol work? I don't have, the paralyzer is too far away. Let me just imagine it. Yeah, it's like the two last little sections of the finger, the second to last one, and then just the poke, the last bit poking past here, kind of the pinky less so. I feel like the music's probably low now. These soundtracks just not that consistent. Boopity boo. Stupidity boo. Just wanna be done and I'm rushing it. Okay. thinking it was tiny, but maybe it's not that tiny because like it's just the two last sections of the finger, so it looks kind of small, but it isn't that small. And then like past the trigger is just the tippy tip of the index finger, and here's like the trigger. Ah, this looks so bad. Oh no. Like the trigger just isn't where it was supposed to be relative to his hand. Oh no. Okay, I got home with my dog. Everything's fine. Cool. Glad your dog's doing good. You know what? I'm gonna get Meryl into a different layer, and we're just gonna overhaul the whole gun because it's too small. We're going to beep boop. Oh no, I was in the wrong layer. Beepity bip. Why doesn't it paste where it was? I thought it usually pasted it right where it was. Okay, it's perfectly in place. So now we get to... Oh, it does say Pokemetry 3.0. Why did I come up with this thing if I don't ever remember? Like you're supposed to like tell people, because I see in a lot of streams, like tell people what's going on so they don't all ask. But with art it's kind of self-explanatory, like what you see is what you get. Not necessary with games, like it kind of helps. Especially considering like the category will be like Pokemon Fire Red, so if I'm playing a mod where there's metric characters, that might not be like immediately clear what's going on. So Meryl. Bye. Okay. And now I'm gonna cut out this pistol and I'm gonna make it bigger, I guess. Am I? I'm gonna get rid of this thumb first of all. It's a bad thumb and it sucks. Okay. Now. I already moved the pistol, it used to be further down. But I guess I also kind of made it smaller in the process. Now I'm going to delete this whole thing and I'm going to do the sketch over. I'll even get rid of like the base of the hand just so it doesn't influence me. Yes. I think you're farther ahead because you're like delaying the problematic parts and then they come back to bite you. I guess it's really low again. Alright. Yeah, I basically, like, my voice was messed up for a really long time after I was even fine. My girlfriend too. We kept, like, coughing. But I think I'm good. I think we're 100% no, like, what do you call it? Sequels? Like, no permanent effects of having had, or rather no more lingering effects of having had an illness. It kinda sounded like the, what is it, like the trophy song from Brawl for a second. I was trying to install earlier a mod of Brawl, but now I put my Wii away and I wanted to play it on Dolphin because I really wasn't using the CRT that much, so I just put away my consoles because, you know, I can emulate all of them. Did you get the flu? It's not clear, we didn't test, but it was either the flu or COVID. The symptoms kinda sounded like, reading the symptoms, it kinda sounded more like the Omicron variant than like the flu that's going around here. We have a flu that's going around, I don't know if that's like all over the world, but in Brazil there's like a flu, I won't remember because it's like H3N2 or something. But it's like the vaccine doesn't cover it, and there's a bunch of the flu too. But the symptoms kinda looked more like the Omicron thing, because there's a lot of throat soreness and like scrapiness. I don't know how to describe it, but you know. Oh damn, glad you're feeling better. Yeah, we're pretty much 100%. Well, just 2 or 3 shitty days of not being very productive, because I did also have a runny nose, so you can't look down, and that prevents you from doing most work. And also you're just really tired and have no energy, so it was kind of difficult. But I did play a crap ton of Shin Megami Tensei 4 in that time, so that's nice. I really enjoy it. The difficulty curve is kind of weird, because it started kind of hard. Like early on I was dying, like whenever like enemies got stronger or there was a boss, like it was pretty difficult and I had to rethink my team and be strategic. But then for a huge middle section just kind of got easy and I was beating stuff first try. Then now I'm really near the end and there was like a super tough boss. There was a lot of fun to, like, I had to overhaul my whole team and fuse new demons and come up with something to beat him. Because basically, like, he has 2 actions per turn, and he could just wipe my team. Like in Shin Megami Tensei, there's almighty attacks, like, or like we know this because of Persona. There's basically nobody blocks them; they're just damage. And he could just use 2 of those and kill my protagonists and most of my demons every turn. And there was, if I had someone who had good defense against pierce damage, which is gun damage in SMT, if someone like reflected that kind of damage, that was what he did. If there wasn't anybody, then he just did a gun attack that hit everybody and knocked out anyone who wasn't resistant. So it was pretty tough. The battle music on the game blows my mind. Yeah, I remember, I really like it. I don't always play with audio because sometimes I'm like watching something, like with a mobile game. Or sometimes we're doing more than one thing at a time. But yeah, I like the battle music. The music in general is pretty good. And I like the plot. I still haven't finished it. I'm very near the end. But yeah, the boss I was talking about, if you played it, like the boss I was talking about, where there was a difficulty spike, at least for me, was Beelzebub. Like, there's a point near the end of the game where you pretty much just have to do a bunch of side quests, which I was completely skipping because I didn't want to get over leveled. So I had to go back and do a bunch of quests because you kind of need to like become a hero to people. So you actually have to get side quests. So it's kind of like in Metroid Prime when you need all the artifacts to finish the game. And if you didn't catch any along the way, that means you're going to get to a bunch of old areas now and have to revisit stuff to clean up, basically. So I'm doing quest cleanup right now, and I haven't done all the older ones. I kind of started with higher level quests. But even then, like, it took a few higher level quests to even unlock this Beelzebub one. Oh yeah, it gets super hard. Yeah, now I'm kind of preparing my end game team. I just got Shiva. Shiva looks crazy good. Last thing I did in the game was fuse Shiva. So what was I saying? So yeah, I had done some stuff, but not most of them. And I just went to Beelzebub, and he would like kill me in one turn. But then I managed to beat him. The first team, like when I really reworked my team, I took a couple of tries to see, is he just always going to wipe me out like immediately? And yeah, with all the demons that I had on me at the time, yeah, he was gonna wipe me out. But then I got back Alice, which I hadn't used in a while, but she like repels gun, so he couldn't use his strongest attack without losing. Like, he would still use it, but he would lose an extra move because his attack got repelled. So I could survive gradually, and also he does a lot of like sick, and I don't know if sick and poison or just sick, but anyway, he does that a lot to everyone. It's like a hit all targets move, and Alice had no, she was immune to sick, so that also ate one of his turns. So Alice would like almost die every turn because she doesn't have that much HP, but she would eat up his turns enough that I could heal and revive her and heal my other guys, and then I just debuffed him a bunch. He's also always kind of buffing himself. He has like the best buff move. So she was like debuffing him back down and further than that. And after a while, I just had enough surplus health that I didn't need to like waste all my moves kind of just getting back together, like reviving people and then using salvation. So I just whittled him down with physical attacks, with like not like the attack move, but you know, high physical damage moves. But yeah, it was the first time, the first thing that got me thinking in a while, right? Like the game had kinda stalled in difficulty, I don't know. But I think like being Shin Megami Tensei, I understand the endings are pretty much always pretty tough. So not really Persona, but like the main games. But since this game in general was a lot easier than other Shin Megami Tensei stuff I've played, I was afraid that it wasn't going to get that difficult, but Beelzebub has rekindled my faith. Do take that quote out of context. I hate this hand, and I'm just gonna draw it. I'm just gonna make it like this. I don't care. I'm just done. It just doesn't work. It's just, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It is fine. So yeah. Then I'm gonna, at some point I'm gonna play Nocturne. The one thing I'm not looking forward to is considering that in Persona, in the PS2 era, you still had to like basically select a fusion over and over and over again. It's the most relatable thing I've ever had, yep. Although I think it looks fine, thanks. Yeah, people are not going to look that hard at it. Like the PS2 Personas, you still have to like reselect a fusion over and over again to like, for it to randomly select what abilities it's going to inherit. Until you get a good set, and it sucks, and I fear that Nocturne probably works like that too, and I'm not looking forward to that. The 3DS ones, generally you get to just select them already, which is so much better, because like if you have infinite patience, you can select 100% and just wait for the exact thing. But mostly you're going to settle, you know, for something that's good enough, which is kind of fine for Persona because it's easier. Like you don't have to have like a super optimized build in Persona. But Shin Megami Tensei, you know, that's kind of part of the fun. It has like hard bosses and you want to get a really good build. You want to think up a build and be able to execute it. So that's kind of annoying. Maybe in the PC version they fixed that in Nocturne, and that's why they're charging $1 million for it, because it's like worth the convenience. It's easily to the point I didn't use any Persona in Persona 4. I still don't know why you did that. I literally saw a video in YouTube, like I didn't watch it, but I saw the thumbnail, that was called "Is it possible to beat Persona 4 with only Izanami?" Izanami, right? The bass guy. Which is like, they probably didn't use like friends or anything. Although I think there are a lot of times when friends are obligatory, but anyway. Like it's like a challenge playthrough. Like, why would you do that? His abilities are going to suck. Like his stats are going to be fine, kinda, although he's still going to be under-leveled because Personas just don't level up as fast as you do. And like social links means that by the end of the game, Personas are starting out full 10 levels higher than the protagonist. So I don't know how he did that. Oh, you used those, just didn't fuse them. Right. You used them as they were given to you. Yeah, but again, like, you're getting Personas of like tops your level, probably considerably lower than your level, when you could be fusing Personas there were several levels higher than you. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Also, they're way better because when you recruit, like when you get a Persona, or when you recruit a demon, like they only have their own base stuff, so you don't get to inherit cool stuff to make them better, or like to annul their immunities, or to give them more options. It's like, especially because like it's not Pokemon, most demons slash personas learn like 2 things by leveling up in the first couple of levels and then never learn anything ever again. I mean, they can have random ability changes, but I don't think ability changes. No, in Persona, ability changes are in the level up thing, right? And they're set in stone. So I'm pretty sure even those are going to stop pretty soon. Yeah, that's kind of a self-imposed extra difficulty thing. I also want to try again Devil Survivor Overclocked, because I started that game and it promptly kicked my ass, and I just kind of postponed playing it indefinitely. Like, it's really tough for some reason. Like, the enemies are just crazy strong. Maybe I was missing something, but I found that it got like right after the tutorial. Basically, it got pretty hard. Well, that's a nice relaxing song with a consistent volume. Why can't we just do that? Another game I did like, completely changing the subject back to Metal Gear, was the Game Boy Color game. It's really nice. It's kind of not even, I was going to say it was a middle term. I guess it kind of is a middle term between like the original Metal Gears, and like the early Metal Gears and Metal Gear Solid. Although it is pretty close to Metal Gear Solid. It's just the plot is weirdly a rehash of Metal Gear Solid. I think they just thought, like, it probably wasn't Kojima writing it, and they just thought, hey, let's make a Metal Gear Solid game. What's the plot like? They did exactly Metal Gear Solid again, but with different characters. Like, I'm not Otacon, I'm my own original character, Botacon. Like, there's a nerd scientist guy, that was his gimmick, and this one is like he's a fat kid. And they're basically like a Meryl and a Colonel and all the same people. I always forget Ghost Babel exists, yep. Especially because I think Ghost Babel is only the Japanese name, and they just called it Metal Gear Solid in the West, which just makes it more confusing. Like, it's not a part of Metal Gear Solid. It's extremely similar in plots to Metal Gear Solid, and even in gameplay, but it's not a port. But I like it. I think it's cute. I also really like the Game Boy Color aesthetic. There are too few Game Boy Color games. It just came out kind of late. The Game Boy had way too much time, and the Game Boy Color had too little. Game Boy Color came out in '89, and I think the Game Boy Color came out in like what, 98, 99? The Game Boy Color, like the original was like 10 years, and then the Color was like 3 or 4 years, and the Advance just came out. But I really like it. I really like how games look in the Game Boy Color. I kind of wish there were more of them. Game Boy Color and the New Geo Pocket Color. Both had great aesthetics. I want a GBC so bad. I only find priced over $200 here. I definitely need to take my Game Boy Color to Chile and sell it. I wonder how much I could sell my Game Boy Color for. I do have it, but I'd probably feel bad about selling it. Although I do like $200. That sounds good. It is in perfect condition. But it kinda has sentimental value. I probably am not gonna sell it. It's the yellow Game Boy Color that came packed with Pokemon Yellow. Because that's how I bought it. I bought it with a game that wasn't really made for the Game Boy Color. It was a really, like, kinda not very good colorization, because everything just turned a single color in the overworld, even though the Game Boy Color can separate the object from background in colorizing Game Boy games. I never sold my consoles. Oh, I used to sell them as a kid. I regret it. I sold my Super Nintendo, I think, to buy the N64. Like, I think I sold it as part of the money for the N64. But yeah, I sold some stuff. I regret it later, the Super Nintendo. But I don't know, when you were a kid, I was just like, oh, I want the new games. I'm not gonna like want to play the old games. I already played those. I'm gonna play the new games now. But you know, eventually you do want to play older games. And also, there was a bunch of Super Nintendo, like good Super Nintendo games that I didn't play on the Super Nintendo. Also, you know, the N64 is good, but the Super Nintendo definitely had more good games. I also sold my GameCube, but I don't mind that as much because I kept the Wii, and the Wii is basically just a GameCube. The only annoying thing, I saw a tweet about this recently that I agree with very much. It's like the worst design decision about the Wii is that you can't select, like, play the disc with a GameCube controller. You have to have a Wii controller. So if you want to just play GameCube, you need to like get the Wii controller and make sure it has a battery. Just like select one thing. That's just obnoxious. They should just let, like, when you move the analog stick in the GameCube controller, it should just spawn a little cursor for it and let you select stuff. Or even has just some kind of cheat code where, like, if you hold R or something, it just boots the GameCube disc. I am so done with this end. Cool, great, fine, let's do the thumb. This is unrelated, but I want to show you something. I used an AI called Looking Glass. One of my friends recently like described some of the characters in their D&D game Looking Glass, and got some pretty cool uh, renderings of them. I even said like they kind of looked like Megami Tensei demons. To generate trained on your RPG art, I gave it 5 images and it spit out images that look sort of similar. They're also kind of messed up. Cool, let me look at it. I can put it probably on stream. Oh no! Oh no! Kind of just look bad. Like they look like the art that got fed into them was not very good. So that does not make me look good. Oh no! I should just start posting this on Twitter and people will think I went insane. Like when Tesla started inventing, like he said he was invented death lasers and stuff, and then people looked at his like briefcase where he was keeping it and it was just like piles of junk. Let's paste some of them here. There's some quality art. Oh no, this looks completely insane. Why is this one text? I never had text in them. This one looks like some mystical script. No, this one just looks like what a kid would draw in a horror movie. And it's like, this is my little friend, and it's like literally Satan. Oh wow. Yeah, this is just a mess. This is like heads on heads on heads. And this guy, I don't know what he has in his head, but he likes it. Oh, this girl has like a tree coming out of her head. And, like I see a leg here, I recognize this probably like as a leg from one character, but up here is just, there's a lot going on up here. There's like bunches of them. Let me get one again. Boop. And yeah, this one almost looks like a thing, right? Like there's a character that's like, doesn't look like any specific character that I drew, but looks like one, like a person. And you know, head, 2 arms, 2 legs. This one's like put together. This one's a little bit more complicated, but I like her face. Looks kind of like a doll. Kind of like a Steven Universe fusion with the eye with two pupils and the pink hair. And I like her little head thing. Looks kind of mystical and cool. I should do like proper drawings of these characters. Like try to make good art of them. Like, I like this one as well. Like, look at this. Doesn't look like a person. It looks like some crazy illumination stuff that they put like in the edges of a medieval book. And her hair is really cool. Kind of looks like Final Fantasy art. Like that one's neat. This one kind of looks like a doll again. I don't know what the eyes gets kind of squished down to these little doll eyes. And some more. Oh no. This one is like 2 people kinda. The only one that's kind of 2 portraits, but this one's just kind of small. So yeah, this one's just kind of crazy. I like the things that show up next to them. Very abstract. This one, I don't know what's going on here. I think it looks like he has an eye patch for a nose. Kind of took an eye patch from someone and figured that that goes right in the middle of the face. But yeah, that's crazy. That's cool how it could generate it. I kind of want to track down because I feel like they definitely have like a couple of pieces that are like the main influence behind each of these that you could probably like track down. Again, kind of looking like a doll, like this one. Oh, I like this guy. This again kind of looks like a medieval drawing. And now they started putting like colored faces on the little guys. Are they using like more data the further we go in? Look at this one. This one's so cool. It's like modern art. I should post it. I should like. If I was a fucking like if I was a renowned artist and I made this like a show in a gallery or something, people would say it was genius. But I really like this one. She's evil and crazy. This hair is also pretty creative. No. They're cool. I kind of like all of them. I'm gonna make them an exposition. Would you mind if I posted this eventually? I feel like this could be a cool Twitter post. I feel like it's getting smarter. Like these look more and more like people. But kind of the faces, probably because it's taking more from the sketches, the faces are getting more weird and abstract. Do I do like them? They're getting more artsy. And the characters are getting, like the sketch is getting more coherent. Yeah, and those were the last ones. Some generations had only sketches and no colors, didn't save those. Oh. Yeah, you can post. Cool, I'll probably make a post out of that. That's fun. You gotta put more stuff in there. Just that is like that probably works best out of my work because they all have kind of the same format. I'm thinking. Oh, did I? Oh, the songs are just over. Ah, let's restart it. Yeah, you can post them. You should add the AI creator, AI Curio, if you posted. Cool. I'm gonna make a note of that. Where's my notepad? Here it is. Now save the gallery link. Boop. There you go. Neat. Let's keep going. I did so little progress today. Like looking at it right now, it looks like less than I started with, but I have Marrow done here. And I just have to mess some stuff up and then fix it. Also, I talked a lot because I missed you guys. It's been a while since we hung out. I'm glad you're all still here after my hiatus. Satisfaction, not at all. It's fun. So I made some with the art you drew of my character. Let me look at that. Oh no, it's like mixing it with other stuff. Oh, that's crazy. This AI is really good. That's nice. Yeah, it's so surprisingly good, like so coherent, the stuff that it makes. It's nice seeing you again. Oh, you too. We gotta drop by each other's streams again at some point. Talk in voice chat. Yeah, it was really nice to talk again. Yeah. It's great having you guys here. I've been working a lot on pixel art because I have a couple of like big pixel art commissions that I'm working on gradually, parallel to normal art. So there's also something I've been doing and like not streaming. Though I might start streaming that. I don't think it's like that interesting to look at, but I guess maybe we can just talk about stuff. Like, as long as there's like chat, it can probably be a decent stream. I feel like if there's like a longer silent period on chat, I'm just not that great at filling in silence, like coming up with new subjects all by myself. So I can feel like the stream's not being very good. In that case, if what you're looking at is also just kinda monotone, maybe kinda, because it's just like it's not one drawing that you kind of can see it progress. It's like we kind of going through the same steps on a bunch of frames of the same animation. You know, to just kind of get them looking good. It's less creative labor, more just labor. So I don't know about that. I gotta do sneaks. Gotta first close this here. And then I gotta do sneaks little belts. This isn't right at all. Gotta do the belts that I didn't really know why those are there. Like, I kinda get these because there's like a gun holster here. But what's this doing? Not really sure. It's kinda giving him a permanent wedgie. Could you help me with something on Discord? Quick, sometime when you got some time. I'd like you to test my Unity project to see if it behaves the same on others' PC. Sounds good? Yeah, I can do that. Remind me on Discord, because I'll probably draw just all the way up until when I have to like eat, and then I'm going over to my girlfriend. So today I really won't like stop anymore. I won't have any like vacant time, but I can almost definitely work it in tomorrow. Then I can just log on and do that. Sounds cool. Is it the one where you like walk around the 3D pixel art world? I'll probably have learned Yep, yeah, that's cool. Sure, I'll test it out. I'd probably have learned Unity if it came out when I was a little younger, because I did really enjoy, but I had Game Maker when I was a kid. Like, I started on Game Maker 5, not to date myself too much, and basically went up to 8. I was still messing with it and doing little projects. Never really got to like Game Maker Studio, which is like the modern one, but my understanding is it's still a fairly simple program meant for, like, you could program 3D into Game Maker, but it really just wasn't built for it. It was like Doom 3D, where the game kinda exists in 2D, but you program ways that it projects the images to give the 2D perspective. Like, it really wasn't meant for 3D. Which, you know, you can definitely make good games on it. Undertale is a Game Maker game. But I had so much fun doing that. It was like my favorite thing. But it takes so much time, I really can't afford to. Otherwise I would, just for fun. Like, I have no business posting a game, because like I'm not like there's so many people that's their life, and we're trying to get games out there, and like I would not earn my place in like a store or something, because there's so many great indie games out there nowadays. But like I would enjoy just making for myself, just for fun. But like it's super time consuming, so ever since I've been an adult I never really could work that in. Thank you, I didn't understand very well. Did you say that tomorrow would be cool? Yeah, tomorrow sounds good. I should have flexible hours tomorrow. I should be able to do it at most times of the day. Like I'll have things to do, but I can just say, okay, I'm doing this thing, and after that I can try it out. By the way, thanks again for taking my survey. I sent you. It turned out quite well. I'm going to I'm getting close to being done with my thesis. Cool. That's neat. Yeah, it was no problem at all. Just took me a few minutes. It really fell in that like the survey was about like you had to look at two images, not images, like little animations of a character walking, and there was like a different engine that made their hair and clothes behave differently, like the hair and clothes physics. For a bunch of animations seen from a bunch of different angles, and like I am pretty sure which one was in the left and which one was in the right. Like there was like a version for each being in the left and each being in the right, because that's going to be a bias as well. We don't look at things uniformly. Most people, I think, read stuff left to right, to like process images there on the left first, because we're kind of trained that way. At least people, Western people who read like that, who read text like that. But I felt like that I was giving the better grade to different engines for different animations, because one of them worked better for like softer movement, but whenever like there was more drastic movement, it kinda freaked out a little bit, and like overly like collided too much with like the legs and stuff, and went blah, 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 blah. While like for softer movements it worked well and made it more natural a little bit, because the other one was a bit stiff and kind of clipped more, like models clipped into each other a little bit more. Each video had a flipped version to combat that bias. Yeah, that's the impression that I got. That's kind of why it takes a little bit longer, like because it's twice, like you're answering every question twice. But I felt like I said that one engine was better for like a set of animations and the other was better for the other, and didn't have like one preference overall, which maybe was kind of the point as well. Seeing like in each case is each one better, not which one is better in general. It was about comparing animations without cloth and hair simulation to two different methods. Oh right, there was none and then two different methods. One method was baked animations and one was real-time simulations. Oh, so one of them, like the less wobbly one, was like done by hand. That's what you're saying. Like you animated the hair and clothes by hand and you played out, and the other one you only animated the character itself and the hair just kind of had its own physics going on. Yeah, I feel like I gave the physics one good ratings for stuff like walking, and the baked animations better ratings for jumping and running, because it kind of went crazy. Like the dress would kind of go into the legs and then kind of push itself out in jagged movements when there was like a super drastic motion. So yeah, that's Dave. By the way, another thing that I'm not crazy about in 5 is that David Hayter is in Snake, and they got Kiefer Sutherland, is it? There's like a famous actor to do him instead. That sucks. I hate that like big projects pass over career voice actors for people who are famous from movies. Like even if they're good actors, they're not good voice actors, and you're going to like, be throwing a bunch of money away for the famous name of a guy. I really don't like that. I really don't like star culture in general. Like watching a movie just because you like the actor. You can think someone's a good actor, but people go to movies because like they like the person. They have this parasocial relation to the star, and like, oh, I love him, I gotta watch all his movies. Like that's weird. Yeah, change VX, especially because like it's not even like changing a voice actor. It's like arguably changing the most iconic voice role in the medium, like David Hayter as Snake. Because of course there's Charles Martinet as Mario, but that's not a full voice role. It's just like voice stings. It never has dialogue, so I don't think it really counts as a role in the same way. And like, yeah, why do that? And I just find it like kind of shitty and disrespectful to voice actors in general, that they are treated as lesser than screen actors at their own trade. I've talked about this before when we were talking about the Mario movie, but like, it's their job, it's their craft that they've been doing all this time, and they don't get to have the best roles because you have to have someone who's famous for movies. You haven't played the whole game, right? I don't want to spoil it. Yeah, no, I haven't. I played really pretty little of it. And yeah, I feel like there is like stuff to be spoiled. There's like that weird thing, like you make a character in the beginning, and I think that that character shows up at some point, because like you make a character and like, okay, now time to play as Snake, and just fuck your character. But I guess eventually they come back. Like I'm not tripping, right? That's MGS5. Or is that like a different game? I think that's MGS5. So I feel like there's probably a lot to spoil. Well, I'm sure like neither like Snake and Ocelot aren't going to die. That's for sure. Also, I may be mixing games, but I'm pretty sure this is the one that has like Kid Liquid. And where like Liquid grew up in the Middle East or something, even though he has a British accent. That's MGS 5, yeah. Yeah, when the fucking plot of the game is so weird that you're not even sure what game it was that it happened. I did like that it opened with The Man Who Sold the World, though. That's a really good song. It's an underrated Bowie song. Yep, Kid Liquid is there. That's cool. Top 10 best liquids: Kid Liquid, Arm Liquid. One of the dumbest things in Metal Gear was it fucking in one when they're like, oh, the Les Enfants Terribles project, all the soldiers you've been fighting are actually also clones of us. But kind of not. Like, we're more clones, but they're also clones. They have our DNA to be super soldiers. And like, they suck. They're extremely bad. They they also suffer from like severe myopia, and they're aggressively stupid and easily distractible. And there's one dude with just chronic diarrhea that's just not okay at all. Should not be drafted to any army. He has the worst like irritable bowel syndrome of anyone ever. Like they are not very impressive super soldiers. Very good song, though I grew up with Nirvana version and I discovered it was a Bowie song very late. Uh, yeah. Yeah, most stories where they like clone someone to make a super soldier army end up being kind of unintentionally like against eugenics, because the super soldier army is never very good. It's kind of like Star Wars, where the clone troopers just die all the time and don't appear to be very competent. I tried starting the Clone Wars animated series, by the way, not the Cartoon Network shorts, like the later one that they made, and I did not like that. I guess I just have to like accept that there are like 3 good Star Wars movies, and Knights of the Old Republic is pretty good, and that's just kind of it. But yeah, I do not like that. And one of the problems is like the Clone Wars are such a terrible setting because it's a war that you know is meaningless, because it's just Palpatine controlling every side at all times, and everybody's extremely stupid not to notice it, and nothing they're fighting for actually matters. And all the soldiers on the good guy side are clones, so they're both all look the same, and also that's extremely immoral and awful that they're doing that, but nobody acknowledges it. Nobody's like, hey, are we the baddies? We're making a clone army. Like, the Jedi really don't seem to give a crap when they die in mass. I guess I hear the series is less bad about that in the movies, but I don't know. This is kind of hard to root for the good guys. Like they make the guys on Count Dooku's side really cartoonishly evil looking, and they act really evil. Even though Count Dooku isn't evil. Like he's just also be manipulated by Palpatine, but he's actually only slightly less stupid than the rest of the Jedi. Because he noticed that the Federation sucks, the Republic, sorry. Like that they are clearly being manipulated and not the good guys anymore. So why is he so cartoonishly evil? Maybe if you weren't called Count Dooku and walked around in a cape and everybody in your side wasn't like pale and dressed in sleek black clothes with a bunch of tattoos, like maybe people wouldn't notice that you're not a bad guy. You need to really learn some like public relations there. Put your best face forwards. Mosquito? There are a lot of mosquitoes around lately. And I can't have like a fan on during the stream because that would be really annoying. Probably make a bunch of noise. I'm just going to finish inks today. I'll probably, I'll take a small break and then probably just call it, try to post it today. But like on stream, I'm just going to do inks. Let's not overthink the hands. I hate when mosquitoes fly near my ear at night. It's the most annoying thing. Yeah, it sucks. It's like, just bite me. Just bite, please just bite me already. Like, take all the blood that fits in your tiny body and just go away, please. Just don't wake me up. But they go for the ears because there's like really exposed blood vessels. Like, that's the only place that wakes me up. Just bite me, I swear. It's fine. Like, I'm not super allergic. If I don't scratch it, it's just going to itch for a while and then it's going to go away and I'm going to be able to just sleep. But yeah, mosquitoes suck. This is just the worst animal. And I even read somewhere that like even conservationists and stuff, like you always hear like any animal that if one animal gets extinct from an area or anything like that, that causes a whole chain of events that's going to harm every other animal because there's a balance. But I hear that with mosquitoes, it's actually hard to even justify that. Most environments would probably be fine if you just eradicated mosquitoes. They just kind of suck. Literally. Because they suck your blood. Anyway. Meanwhile, it's winter here, but half a year ago I had the same problem, I imagine, yeah. Mosquitoes are one of the worst things about summer. Just everywhere at night, it's just a nightmare of mosquitoes. And they also, they carry really bad diseases, which is the main problem. there's like just absurd statistic that like I've seen more than once, but it is still hard to believe that between 1 and 2/3 of humans died from diseases like, you know, since the human race has existed, so like mostly in prehistoric times, died for like real diseases related to mosquitoes, like mostly malaria and stuff like that, which is insanely high. But I've seen it before. I don't, I can't like speak to it, but I've seen it more than once, unless it's one of those wrong facts that flows around. Still, even today, when like there are pretty simple cures for malaria, it's still one of the main causes of death in the world. Mosquitoes are just terrible. Here we have dengue. We have like these drives. Most years we've been able to drive it back considerably, but we have usually like people go door to door to people to kind of help to look in their yards and stuff if there is any places that might have mosquito larvae, to get rid of it, just to prevent dengue from getting out of control. We have a lot of it here. Which also really sucks. And recently we had this other thing that was chikungunya, which is another mosquito, well, like the same mosquito, but another mosquito-borne illness that was kind of just a really crappy flu for most people, but for pregnant women it could cause a miscarriage, so it was really bad. So mosquitoes just kinda suck. And maybe we could, I'm just going to eventually make them the same layer again. Maybe we could just eradicate them and it would be fine. Because it's kind of hard to justify, like, for people in Africa who are dying in huge numbers of malaria and like being crippled by it all the time, to say no, we need to preserve the mosquitoes because of nature. They're like, screw nature. At some point, people are going to put themselves above that, and you can't really blame them for it. I think there was a game that you control a mosquito. I think that's a really weird PS2 game. This, and then she has another thing, which I'm not sure she's wearing, like 2 sets of gloves, and like the lower one is kind of like what do you call it, straps, like fighting straps for your wrist, and over it there's just fingerless gloves, which has fingerless gloves so you can see her fingers, but then there's this black thing after. I don't know if that's like a wristband or if that goes all the way up to her hand. I also don't know what the squares behind the gloves are. This is a pretty common design thing that I see a lot. Snake has them too. But I'm looking at her sketch, her concept art. which is really good, by the way. I used to browse through the manual a lot as a kid. I also have the art book on my PC. I really like the art for the Metal Gear series. I did study it for a while, but I wasn't, good enough to really be reproducing it. Originally, his gun was lower, so I didn't really sketch like her pants that much. Like the texture. Then I have to look up her pistol. I'm not a huge fan of drawing guns. Guns are like tiny cars. In terms of they're annoying to draw, but also really, like, they're both detail and geometrical, which means that there's a lot of stuff to get right, and if you get any of it wrong, it's going to really show. Like if the angles don't match, it's going to really show. And I had her other arm barely showing up back here. Okay. Then she has really elaborate pants where there's like a a knee pad thing. I want to look at the 3D model. Here's the 3D model because the concept art is really sketchy. So yeah, it's kind of knee pads. But they go really high up. And then there's another belt, which I guess is just the holster. Although I'm not drawing the holster because I'm lazy and nobody is going to call me out. Because it's out of the way of the center of attention. I'm definitely going to get bit by mosquitoes. I'm just going to duplicate this line even though it's not that good, but I want to get done with this. that's kind of it. Oh, there's the pockets now, and then just the creases of the pants. Oops. Pocket is here. And then it's like a line going through the front here. And just some basic creases. And okay. Okay, I'm just going to move on to the gun and call this a day. Because yeah, it's getting pretty late. Her gun, what's up? At least it's a bit more straightforward of a pistol. It's also further out of frame, so it's okay if I draw it kinda shitty. But don't tell anyone that my gun is shitty. They won't notice. It's a secret. I don't know if you guys could like hear me whisper when I whispered, or if it just sounded like nightmarish because my microphone's not very good. So I decided it's probably not a good idea that I went all like on it, because that might sound just fucking terrible. Yeah, I could hear it good. I thought it could either be inaudible or unbearable, one of the two, and I wouldn't know. Okay, seeing you again. Take care, man. Have a great one. Yep, bye. I'm not sure if you're like popping out or if it's like preemptively because I'm almost done. But yeah, cool. We'll talk tomorrow about the testing and all that. So guns have so many like tiny details that I'm not sure like which lines to draw, you know, in the level of detail that I'm going for. They're tricky to simplify. Like if you don't draw tiny things, they're kind of all tiny things. They're almost a flat surface, but like a bunch of little texture stuff that goes a little bit in, a little bit out. So you have to kind of pick a few, I guess. I don't know, kind of making it up at this point. Screw it, I don't care. This is a gun and we're done. This is it. Let me do a thing. Let me get rid of this and bring this back up. Doesn't fit 100% at this point, but it's closer. I am going to give them color though. I'm not going to do just flat like the sketch, but this should give like the general light and dark tone to it that I'm going to be going for. So yeah, there was MGS drawing thing that I'm almost done with. Just going to do some colors real quick. They're probably going to be like fairly flat colors. And I definitely got bit by a mosquito. Now I can tell. That sucks. Anyway, see you guys around. Hope you have a great time and don't get bit by too many mosquitoes. I should raid someone though. I forgot to raid someone. There's still, you know, if there's more than 2 people, I'll raid people. So let's check someone out. I'm going to get rid of this music, otherwise it's going to interfere. Now just sit around for a second, anyone who doesn't have anything to do, because then we get to say hi to another art streamer together, and that's always fun. Should I share the screen? How do I? Too much work. It's going to take too much time. I forgot how to do it, so we're just going to go manually. Like I'm going to look and choose one for you guys. Have a good one. Nice seeing you. You too. Who can we raid? Someone is drawing like fusion Pokemon, basically. They're drawing like a Gyarados, Feraligatr. I never got. Is it supposed to be called Feraligatr, or did they just run out of characters to call it Feraligator? Because it was like the maximum characters that the Gen 2 allowed. So we're going to raid this person. Go say hi to them. I'm going to stick around for a minute, see if I follow them as well. So yeah, have a great one, you guys. Thanks for dropping by after this hiatus. I hope to do this regularly again. So yeah, bye.